Just a moment. We're starting Deuteronomy today. We finished Numbers on Thursday. It's been a while. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. No stream Friday because we did BK all day. Let's see. But we finished Numbers last time. We're going to start on Deuteronomy today. Hola, Cisal. Yeah, that cross. That cross. Deuteronomy. Deuteronomia, from the Greek Deuteronomia, which means the second law. This is the last book of Moses, the last book of the Torah. The first 3 chapters, which we're going to read today, are pretty much a recap of what happened in Exodus. And also the appointing of the judges. It says here the appointing of the judges. But there's pretty much a recap here. We're going to go through the years in the wilderness and all that stuff again. And then chapters 4 through 11 are a recap of the Levitical law. Maybe some of it explained in a little more depth, focusing on listen to God. Listen meaning to obey. I think the Hebrew word is shama or shawa, something like that. What's up, HP Nubcraft? A lot of focus on listen meaning obey, and God's love. We'll look up the exact use of the word love there when we get to it. Agape is Greek. So the Hebrew word used, I believe, in this reference, when they use it in Deuteronomy, is also to obey, obedience of God, love God, not just emotional love, not just worldly love, but to obey God. Listen, obey, love, obey. But that's 4 through 11. I don't know how far we're going to get into that chunk. We'll probably go to 5 or 6 today, depending on how long these chapters are in Deuteronomy. Hola, Roberto. Let me look at something real quick. All right. What's up, King? So, we got a couple people here. Hit the like button on your way in, guys. The public service announcement before I do these. I'm not a preacher. I'm not a teacher. I'm not going to pretend like I know everything and like I follow the one true religion or any of that stuff. None of that. We're just reading the Bible. When there's confusing things or things that I've never had explained to me, we'll look at the old Google machine and we'll look at some explanations from a mixture between Catholics, Protestants, Orthodox. I don't like these boxes that we put everybody in. But we'll look at varying different doctrinal ideas on different things in the Bible and try to have a full understanding of the different points of view for these different ideas and concepts and stuff like that. We'll talk about what atheists say, arguments in the Bible that atheists commonly bring up and how to debunk them. We'll talk about, sometimes I got some made up theories about science and stuff and how we can, like last night I was talking about how you can use science to show that humans very likely could have lived to be 900 years old. Theories, fun stuff, different ideas. I'm not saying you can believe whatever you want to believe. I'm not telling you what to believe. I'm not here to preach at you, and I'm not here to teach you. Let no man teach you. Study to show yourself approved. Study everything from all the different angles. Look at it from every angle and come up with your best conclusion and leave what you don't know as I don't know. I think a lot of people presume to know everything and have all the right answers, and everybody else is wrong. And I think that's a problem there. Jesus came to divide, but he didn't come to divide brothers from their brothers. Maybe mothers from fathers, or fathers from children and mothers from children. But as Christian brothers, we got to be united, even if we have some doctrinal differences. Too many people throwing around the word heretic, saying that they're the only ones who know. So let's just read. And then once we get through the Bible, once we get through this King James version, we'll read the Deuterocanons. We'll read Book of Enoch. We'll read Maccabees. We'll read all that stuff. First, I'm going to get through this, which I've read most of it already many times. Studied it my whole life. So, but even I'm not going to presume to tell you that I have the right answers. I don't think any man has all the right answers. You got to go to God for that. So that's the plan. That's what we do here. As you can tell, I'm tired. Yes. It snowed all night last night. I didn't even go to the gym this morning because when I was walking from work to the train, my shoes and my socks got soaking wet, so I didn't want to go to the gym with wet socks. So I just came home and cleaned for the past hour or so. And then, well, I cleaned for an hour and then I've been reading this book, The Institute from Stephen King. Almost done with it. A little bit left. After this, I got Against Heresies for $1 on my phone. I'm going to read that a little bit. I got to finish Gulag Archipelago. Try to switch it up between Bible every day and then in my free time reading, fiction, history, theology, philosophy, mix it up, a little bit of everything. So, too many books on my book list, and I don't have enough time to read, but we do have time for this. So, it is 10:33. Start time was 10:30. Let's get into it. Deuteronomy. Thank you for the gift of memberships. It's Tank D. Tank D was gifted a membership. What the? Wake up. It's the wake up call. Hey, thank you, HB Nubcraft. All the donos are appreciated during these, but I normally don't ask for them. That's not what this show is about, but thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Deuteronomy. We're starting Deuteronomy. Chapter 1. These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel on this side Jordan, in the wilderness, in the plain, over against the Red Sea, between Paran and Tophel, and Laban, and Hazeroth, and Dizahab. These are 11 days' journey from Horeb by the way of the Mount Seir unto Kadesh Barnea. And it came to pass in the 40th year, in the 11th month, on the first day of the month, that Moses spake unto the children of Israel, according unto all that the Lord had given him in commandment unto them. After he had slain Sihon, the king of the Amorites, which dwelt in Heshbon, and Og, the king of Bashan, which dwelt at Astaroth, in Edrei, on this side Jordan, in the land of Moab, began Moses to declare this law, saying, The Lord our God spake unto us in Horeb, saying, Ye have dwelt long enough in this mount. Turn you, and take your journey, and go to the mount of the Amorites, and unto all the places nigh thereunto, in the plain, in the hills, and in the vale, and in the south, and by the seaside, to the land of the Canaanites, and unto Lebanon, unto the great river, the river Euphrates. W. Robert, let my end be your start. That's cryptic. Behold, I have set the land before you. Go in and possess the land which the Lord sware unto your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and give unto them and to their seed after them. And I spake unto you at that time, saying, I am not able to bear you myself alone. The Lord your God hath multiplied you, and behold, ye are this day as the stars of heaven for multitude. So this is Moses reiterating the story of when he was holding his arms up in the desert and he was getting weak and they had to help him hold his arms. And he said, there's too many of them, God. I can't manage all of them. And he said, put judges, one over the 1,000, one over the 100, and one over the tens. A hierarchy of authority of righteous men to rule over the land, over the men. God's the ultimate ruler, but God appoints men to rule over men. Because otherwise, we get mob mentality and we just act like wild animals. And I spake unto you at that time, saying, I am not able to bear you myself. I already read that. The Lord God of your fathers make you 1,000 times so many more as ye are, and bless you as he hath promised you. How can I myself alone bear your cumbrance and your burden and your strife? Take you wise men and understanding and known among your tribes, and I will make them rulers over you. This is God saying this. This is not the children of Israel asking for this. This is God telling this to Moses. And he answered me and said, the thing which thou hast spoken is good for us to do. So I now took the chief of your tribes, wise men and known, and made them heads unto you, captains over thousands, and captains over hundreds, and captains over 50s, and captains over 10s, and officers among your tribes. And I charged your judges at that time, saying, hear the causes between your brethren, and judge righteously between every man and his brother, and the stranger that is with him. Ye shall not respect persons in judgment, but ye shall hear the small as well as the great. Ye shall not be afraid of the face of man, for the judgment is God's, and the cause is too hard for you. Bring it unto me, and I will hear it. And I commanded you at that time all the things which ye should do. And when we departed from Horeb, we went through all that great and terrible wilderness, which ye saw by the way of mountains of the Amorites, as the Lord our God commanded us. And we came to Kadesh Barnea. This is Moses is speaking to the children. They're about to go into the promised land. And Moses knows he's going to die soon because God told him, just like he told Aaron, go up to that mountain. It's time for you to die. Not in those exact words, but he told him. Aaron went up and Aaron died. And now Moses knows after this, he's going to die too. And he's not going to he gets to see the promised land from the mountain overlooking it, but he doesn't get to go in. And I said unto you, ye are come unto the mountains of the Amorites, which the Lord our God doth give unto us. Behold, the Lord thy God hath set the land before thee. Go up and possess it, as the Lord God of thy fathers hath said unto thee. Fear not, neither be discouraged. And ye came near unto me, every one of you, and said, we will send men before us, and they shall search us out the land, and bring us word again by what way we must go up, and into what cities we shall come. And the saying pleased me well. And I took 12 men of you, one of a tribe. Here's the spies that go into the Canaanite land, and they come back scared. They come back scared. I got to go to work for a minute. I'll be back later. When they counted people in the Bible, do you think they counted just the men or women and children too? They only counted fighting age men aged 20 to 50, except for the Levites, which they counted from a month old until 60, I think. I might have those. The Levites, it was a month old till, I think maybe the Levites, it was all the men. I forget the later end number, but the Levites, they counted from a month old, all the men, all the boys and men, boys to men. But the Israelites of the 12 tribes, not the Levites, they only counted fighting age men aged 20 to 50 or 20 to 60, I forget. And they turned and went up into the mountain and came unto the valley of Eshcol and searched it out. And they took of the fruit of the land in their hands and brought it down unto us and brought us word again and said, it is a great land which the Lord our God doth give us. Notwithstanding, you would not go up, but rebelled against the commandment of the Lord your God. And ye murmured in your tents and said, because the Lord hated us, he hath brought us forth out of the land of Egypt to deliver us into the hand of the Amorites to destroy us. This is the Exodus group, the group that left Pharaoh in Egypt from the Exodus. And this is when they get the curse. They basically get told, you're never going to see the promised land. You're going to die in this wilderness, but your children will get to see it. So by this point, and they're going to spend a year on this mountain before they head into the promised land. So they've wandered for 40 years. They're going to spend a year here. And this is like Moses' last year. And he's rehashing all of this stuff. He's telling the children because, before the written language, scribes transcribing all this stuff, it was word of mouth. Moses had to tell the stories. I believe, see, this is one of those beliefs, just one of those ideas that I have. It makes sense to me. And I've heard this before. You know how people nowadays can't remember phone numbers because their phones just remember the phone numbers for them? In the old days, for any youngins who might stumble upon this, in the old days, we actually had to memorize phone numbers. And I had memorized when I was a little kid. I had my home phone number, my grandma's phone number, all my friends in my neighborhood's phone numbers, my school's phone number. I even memorized 911. I had all those numbers memorized. Nowadays, nobody has any phone numbers memorized because you don't need to. So the idea is, before they had written language, before they had technology, even things like spell check on your phone, ever since they spell check in general, once they started coming out with spell check, people got worse at spelling. So reverse engineer this process of technology, industrialization, decreasing our mind's ability to retain information. Reverse engineer that and go backwards. If you think we could memorize more when we had a little bit less technology, imagine when they had no technology and no written language. Spoken stories that were told over and over and over again, people would have to memorize the story. So it wasn't, people say, well, it's like a game of telephone. This person told this person told this person. Yeah, nowadays, when we play the game of telephone, the story gets changed. But in the old days, they didn't have written language. They didn't have technology to rely on. So they had to get the story right. So when Moses is up there for a year and he's telling these stories, and this is now the third time that they've rehashed all the stories. The repetition and the telling of the story over and over and over again commits it to people's memories. So That's how we can know that by the time it gets to the scribes, it's pretty inerrant, because it's not like these people remembered these stories. They had to remember these stories word for word. And also their language had much fewer words, so it was easier to remember the story, and there's less distractions. So they remembered these stories. So where was I going with this? Basically, that's why Moses keeps telling these stories, is so that they can memorize it, and then they can translate it. I was going somewhere with that. I forgot my point, but I think I made a point. Deliver us to the hand of the Amorites to destroy us. Whither shall we? Where was I going with this? Oh yeah. Well, most of the people couldn't read, so the little bit of writing that certain people could do, and the record keepers and stuff like that, what they did instead was they would tell the stories. Oh, I was just talking about how Moses is telling the people, he's telling the children this story, because this is the next generation. None of the people that he's talking to on this mountain were alive when their parents left Egypt. So he's telling them the story, and they tell the stories, and they all tell the stories, and the story spread. And that's how the story gets preserved, by word of mouth. And that's how we can know all that stuff that I just explained, was how we can know that word of mouth back then is a much more reliable source than word of mouth currently. I put my coat on the seat. Call 5. You got to call 5 on it. All right. Whither shall we go up? Our brethren have discouraged our hearts, saying, the people is greater and taller than we, the giants, the Canaanite giants. The cities are great and walled up to heaven, and moreover, we have seen the sons of the Anakims there. I just learned the other day that the story of Lot with the angels and the men that come to grape the angels that Lot is harboring in his house, the 2 angels, you could say 2 angels of the Lord that Lot's harboring in his house. People in this, I watched a thing with Michael Knowles, and he was talking to these gay pastors, and he was like, well, how do you justify Sodom and Gomorrah? And they say these homosexual pastors say the story of Sodom and Gomorrah is not about homosexuality. It's about people who were sleeping with angels. That's what one of the words there is, strange sexual acts, or it's one of the ways it's translated is as strange sexual acts. Now, 99% of Christians know that means gay stuff, but these homosexual pastors were saying, no, they're just talking about men who wanted to sleep with angels. And Michael Knowles got him on this. He said, well, the guys who came to Lot's house didn't know that they were angels inside of there. They just thought it was 2 men, two travelers, 2 men travelers, and they wanted to sleep with them. So that's gay stuff. But why did I bring this up? Because we're talking about Canaanites. We're talking about the giants. It's just something I learned yesterday, and we read about that. We're going to reiterate that in Ecclesiastes, I believe, and also in Jude. Ruth or Jude, it talks about Sodom and Gomorrah again, and I'll go over it again when we get to that. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting that they try to justify it by saying in Sodom and Gomorrah, the abominable sex acts were actually sleeping with angels. It's like, well, they were doing that too. We know of the Nephilim, and we know of the giants in the Canaanite. That's what it says when the people are greater and taller than we. They're talking about giants. They use the word giants in in Exodus. Here it just says taller. The cities are great and walled up to heaven. And moreover, we have seen the sons of the Anakims there. The sons of the Anakims. Is that another word similar to Nephilim? Let me look this up real quick. Anakims. I'm thinking. Anakims. Not Anakins, not Skywalker. We have seen the sons of the Anakims there. You passed out? You fell asleep? Did I read you to sleep? LMN. Anakims. Deuteronomy 128. This word's going to be used a handful of times in Deuteronomy. I'm guessing it's the same as the Nephilim, sons of the Nephilim, or the... I'm thinking it's a word for angels, fallen angels. 6062. 6062. Anakwi or Anakim's patron from Anakite or descendant of Anakim. That doesn't help me much. Anak, like Anana. Anakwi. Anakite. Anakim. The Anakims. A race of giants, descendants of Anak, who lived in the southern part of Canaan, particularly around Hebron, and were considered formidable opponents by the Israelites. Who were the Anakim? Numbers 13:22 mentions Ahiman, Sashai, Talmai, and the children of Anak. States that Caleb received the city of Arbab, the father of Anak, which is in Hebron. Deuteronomy 9:2, Joshua. Deuteronomy 9:2 describes the Anakim as a people great and tall. The Israelites were initially terrified of the Anakim, comparing themselves to grasshoppers in their sight. So this is similar to the Nephilim, the Nephilim. Were the Nephilim the angels? What's the difference between an Anakim and a Nephilim? Nephilims, giants, the fallen ones. That's the book of Enoch. They're called the fallen. Well, in the Bible, they're called the fallen ones too in Ezekiel. Mentioned in Genesis, Numbers, and Ezekiel. Origins unidentified or debated, with some suggesting they were offspring of divine beings and human women. Nephilim. So I guess Anakim is similar to Nephilim, but not quite the same. Maybe different generations, or maybe like a different race of angel bred with the humans to make the giants. Regardless, pretty clear evidence that there were giants in those days. It's crazy to think there might have been dinosaurs too. You mean there's giant humans? You say that there was giant lizards? Who could think such a thing? That's crazy. And maybe the giant men knew how to harness giant lizards and build giant towers. Who could think of such a thing? Josh, stop sounding so peaceful reading the Bible. I fell asleep. Okay, let's get to something violent. It's the Old Testament. I'm sure it won't be long till we get to something violent. Sons of the Anakims there. Then I said to you, dread not, neither be afraid of them. The Lord your God, which goeth before you, he shall fight for you, according to all that he did for you in Egypt before your eyes. And in the wilderness, where thou hast seen how the Lord thy God bare thee, as a man doth bear his son, and all the way that ye went, until ye came into this place. Yet in this thing ye did not believe the Lord your God, who went in the way before you to search you out a place to pitch your tents in fire by night to show you by what way you should go, and in a cloud by the day. And the Lord heard the voice of your words and was wroth and sware, saying, surely there shall not one of these men of his evil generation see that good land which I swear to give unto your fathers, save Caleb the son of Jephunneh, he shall see it, and to him will I give the land that he hath trodden upon, and to his children, because he hath wholly followed the Lord. And the Lord was angry with me for your sake, saying, thou also shalt not go in thither. But Joshua the son of Nun standeth before thee, he shall go in thither. Encourage him, for he shall cause Israel to inherit it. Let's go. Moreover, you little ones, which he said should be a prey, and your children, which in that day had no knowledge between good and evil. Interesting. The children had no knowledge of good and evil. That is that wonder if you could tie that in with original sin. Some people, there's different ideas on original sin. The Adam and Eve ate the fruit of the tree of the wisdom of knowledge and good and evil, which God told them not to eat of. And I always talk about this. I always say we shouldn't know good from evil. Ideally, we would not know good from evil. We have tricks that are played in our mind where we think we know what good and evil is. But really, we shouldn't even know what good and evil is. Ideally, we wouldn't. And as children, this is why I don't believe that children are born inheriting original sin from Adam and Eve, the curse of Adam and Eve from the time they're born. That's a doctrine that some denominations believe. Some denominations believe that even in the mother's womb, the child is already cursed with the sins of the father, with the curse from Adam and Eve. Different denominations believe otherwise. I believe we're born innocent, and it's the world that gets its fangs into us. It's our parents, it's our social environment, our friends, the world. By the world, I mean evil, Satan, creeps into us. Some of us much faster than others. And I think it can also happen in the womb. I think I've heard I've shown interrogations on this channel. There's a 6-year-old girl who tried to stab her little brother to death with a pencil when she was 3. Or no, he was 3 and she was 6. But when they interrogated her, she was telling stories of things her father had done to her when she was 2 years old. She shouldn't have even been able to have memories of that time. But this 6-year-old girl had vivid memories of things that were happening to her when she was an infant, when she was 1, when she was 2 years old, things that her father would do. So these things traumatized this little girl. And I don't think a 6-year-old girl wants to kill her brother. That's not of God. That's not natural. That's of the world. That's of evil. And so it can creep into you, through your parents at a very young age. But it's not a given that we're all just necessarily cursed from well, we kind of are cursed because we're born into this world, but you are born perfect and you fall to the world. And I think this kind of maybe ties into that. Moreover, your little ones, which he said should be a prey, and your children, which in that day had no knowledge between good and evil, they shall go in thither, and unto them will I give it, and they shall possess it. So the children, the young children, even though their parents were being real jerks. And God said, you know what? You're going to die in this wilderness. But your children, they have no knowledge of good and evil. They're pure. I'm going to let them into the promised land. And I think that's pretty base. That's a good verse to tie in with that original sin stuff. Oh yeah, one other thing I was going to say about the womb, about how you can be traumatized from your parents even as early as the womb. For example, and this is a kind of a dark story here, but I've known through my past life experiences, I've known women who were addicted to drugs, specifically opiates, who get pregnant. And when the child is born, when the women get pregnant, they'll put them on methadone. And when the baby is born, immediately they take the baby from the mother, they put the baby in a separate place, and it could be anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months. The mother's not allowed to have the child because what they're doing is they're giving the baby methadone because the baby is born addicted to heroin or addicted to opiates. It's sad, it's crazy, but it happens. If the mother is on opiates and she has a baby, the baby is born addicted to opiates. And so they have to wean it off. So they use methadone to wean infants off of opiates. And the babies have withdrawals, and it's horrible. And the mother's not allowed to, depending on how bad she is, they might just take the baby. But I have known cases, I've known these girls personally who do end up getting their baby, but sometimes they can't bring the baby home for like 2 months. It's kind of sad, but that's an example of how you can that the way I think of original sin, it can affect you while you're in the womb. But I still think that child's innocent. You know, that child didn't choose that. That child didn't, you know. Anyway, that got dark. Verse 40, but as for you, turn you and take your journey into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. Then ye answered and said unto me, we have sinned against the Lord. We will go up and fight according to all that the Lord our God commanded us. And when ye had girded on every man his weapons of war, ye were ready to go up into the hill. And the Lord said unto me, say unto them, go not up, neither fight, for I am not among you, lest ye be smitten before your enemies. So I spake unto you, and ye would not hear, but rebelled against the commandment of the Lord, and went presumptuously up into the hill. And the Amorites, which dwelt in the mountain, came out against you, and chased you as bees do, and destroyed you in Seir, even unto Hormah. What am I getting all these alerts for? What is this? This is a long chapter. What are all these alerts? Bro, I'm still getting alerts from his Discord. I said I don't want alerts from that Discord anymore. What the heck? Okay. And the Amorites which dwelt in the mountain came out against you and chased you as bees do, and destroyed you in Seir, even unto Hormah. And ye returned and wept before the Lord. But the Lord would not hearken to your voice, nor give ear unto you. So ye abode in Kadesh many days, according unto the days that ye abode there. Chapter 2. God's punishment for Israel. Then we turned and took our journey into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea, as the Lord spake unto me. And we compassed Mount Seir many days. They could have just walked straight across from when they crossed the Red Sea to the promised land. It was like a 2-week journey. Instead, it took them 40 years. They went like all all around, left and right and up and down and through the mountains and through the hills and through the valleys and multiple different tribes and wars. And God was just walking them in circles. He's like, you know what? You're all going to die in this wilderness. Not the exact wording, but the wording used was your carcasses will rot away in this wilderness before your children ever get to see the promised land. Dang. And we compassed Mount Seir many days, and the Lord spake unto me, saying, Ye have compassed this mountain long enough. Turn you northward, and command thou the people, saying, Ye are to pass through the coast of your brethren, the children of Esau, which dwell in Seir, and they shall be afraid of you. Take ye good heed unto yourselves therefore. Meddle not with them, for I will not give you of their land, no, not so much as a foot breadth, because I have given Mount Seir unto Esau for a possession. Ye shall buy meat of them for money, that ye may eat, and ye shall also buy water of them for money, that ye may drink. For the Lord thy God hath blessed thee in all the works of thy hand. He knoweth thy walking through this great wilderness. These 40 years the Lord thy God hath been with thee. Thou hast lacked nothing. And when we passed by from our brethren, the children of Esau, which dwelt in Seir, through the way of the plains from Elath, and from Ezion-Geber, we turned and passed by the way of the wilderness of Moab. And the Lord said unto me, Distress not the Moabites, neither contend with them in battle, for I will not give thee of their land for a possession, because I have given Ar unto the children of Lot for a possession. So this is Lot's land, Esau's land. We're kind of going back through the whole Torah right now. We're doing a rehash of the whole story. The footnotes version. If you read Deuteronomy 1-3, if you want the footnotes version on what happened in this chunk right here. If you missed all the episodes so far, you get a recap right now. The Emims dwelt there in the past days, a people great and many, and tall as the Anakims. Oh, so the Emims, the Nephilims, and the Anakims are all giants, which also were accounted giants as the Anakims, but the Moabites called them Emims. So there's more. We always reference the Nephilim when we're talking about the giants. I think most people tend to forget, even I forget until just now, and I've read this before. I forget, but I'm going to mark it down as a note. Giants. Nephilim. That I am at the end, that I am, the Emims. Emims, there's a little apostrophe there. And the Anakims. I'm sure people probably have tied connections there with Anunnaki. Anakims, Anunnaki. Sounds similar. The Horims also dwelt in Seir before time, but the children of Esau succeeded them when they had destroyed them from before them and dwelt in their stead, as Israel did unto the land of his possession, which the Lord gave unto them. Now rise up, said I, and get ye over the brook Zered. And we went over the brook Zered. In the space in which we came from Kadesh Barnea until we were come over the brook Zered was 38 years, until all the generation of the men of war were wasted out from among the host, as the Lord sware unto them. So all the Exodus group are dead now. For indeed the hand of the Lord was against them, to destroy them from among the host until they were consumed. So it came to pass, when all the men of war were consumed, and dead from among the people, that the Lord spake unto me, saying, Thou art to pass over through Ar, the coast of Moab, this day. And when thou comest nigh over against the children of Ammon, distress them not, nor meddle with them. For I will not give thee the land of the children of Ammon, any possessions, because I have given it unto the children of Lot for a possession. That also was accounted a land of giants. Giants dwelt there in the old time. And the Ammonites called them Zamumims. Zamumims. So there's another one. Zamzumims. Lots of giants. Yeah, giants. Totally fine to have giants and dragons in the Bible. But mention dinosaurs dragging rocks and people lose their minds. 900-year-old humans, sorcerers, magic, demons, angels, people splitting seas, miracles, a dinosaur dragging a rock. That's just insane. That's just crazy talk. All right. That was also accounted a land of giants. Giants dwelt there. Oh, wait. I just highlighted the wrong verse. Zamumims, a people great and many, and tall as the Anakims. But the Lord destroyed them before them, and they succeeded them and dwelt in their stead. As he did to the children of Esau, which dwelt in Seir, when he destroyed the Horims from before them. So the Horims, similar sounding name, but they're not referred to as giants at any point, but they are related to the Anakims and the Zamzumims, from before them, and they succeeded them and dwelt in their stead, even unto this day. There's another one. Here's another one. And the Avims, which dwelt in Hazarim, even unto Azah, the Caphtorims, which came forth out of Caphtor, destroyed them and dwelt in their stead. Okay. It doesn't say that the Hazarims or the Avims or the Caphtorims are giants. Rise ye up, take your journey, and pass over the river Arnon. Behold, I have given unto thine hand Sihon, the Amorite king of Heshbon, and his land. Begin to possess it, and contend with him in battle. This day will I begin to put the dread of thee and the fear of thee upon the nations that are under the whole heaven, who shall hear report of thee, and shall tremble and be in anguish because of thee. And I sent messengers out of the wilderness of Kedemoth unto Sihon, king of Heshbon, with words of peace, saying, Let me pass through thy land. I will go along by the highway. I will neither turn unto the right hand nor to the left. Thou shalt sell me meat for money, that I may eat, and give me water for money, that I may drink. Only I will pass through on my feet. As the children of Esau, which dwelt in Seir, and the Moabites, which dwelt in Ar, did unto me, until I shall pass over Jordan into the land which the Lord our God hath given us. But Sihon is not a very bright guy. But Sihon, king of Heshbon, would not let us pass by him. For the Lord thy God hardened his spirit and made his heart obstinate, that he might deliver him thy hand as appeareth this day. Deliver him into thy hand as appeareth this day. And the Lord said unto me, Behold, I have begun to give Sihon his land before thee. Begin to possess, that thou mayest inherit his land. I don't know if it's Sihon or Sihon. Then Sihon came out against us, he and all his people, to fight at Jahaz. And the Lord our God delivered him before us, and we smote him and his sons and all his people. And we took all his cities at that time, and utterly destroyed the men and the women and the little ones of every city. We left none to remain. Only the cattle we took for prey unto ourselves, and the spoil of the cities which we took. From Maor, which is by the brink of the river of Arnon, and from the city that is by the river, even unto Gilead, there was not one city too strong for us. The Lord our God delivered all unto us. Only unto the land of the children of Ammon thou camest not, nor unto any place of the river Jabbok, nor unto the cities in the mountains, nor unto whatsoever the Lord our God forbade us. Dang. Chapter 3. Then we turned and went up the way to Bashan, and Og, the king of Bashan, came out against us, he and all his people, to battle at Edrei. And the Lord said unto me, Fear him not, for I will deliver him and all his people and his land into thy hand. And thou shalt do unto him as thou didst unto Sihon, king of the Amorites, which dwelt in Heshbon. So the Lord our God delivered into our hands Og, also the king of Bashan, and all his people, and we smote him until none was left to him remaining. And we took all his cities at that time. There was not a city which we took not from them. 60 cities, that's 60 cities. All the region of Argob, the kingdom of Og in Bashan. All these cities were fenced with high walls, gates, and bars, beside unwalled towns a great many. And we utterly destroyed them, as we did unto Sihon, king of Heshbon, utterly destroying the men, women, and children of every city. So it's not just the Amalekites. They wiped out 60 cities, all the men, women, and children. It wasn't just the atheists will always bring up the Amalekites. Well, what is Og and Bashan and Sihon and the Amorites? What are they, chop liver? They slaughtered them too. Why do you just mention the Amalekites? Amalekites were whack. They're only mentioned a couple times. These people, this is way more impressive and based. But all the cattle and the spoils of the city we took for a prey to ourselves. Oh, they get mad because the Amalekites, they actually kill the farm animals too. These cities, they kept the cattle alive. And so like the vegans are like, well, all we really care about is why did you have to kill the cattle? And we took at that time out of the hand of the two kings of the Amorites the land that was on this side of the Jordan, from the river of Arnon unto Mount Hermon. It doesn't reiterate there that they also kept the young ladies, the young flowers, which Hernon, the Sidonians call Sirion, and the Amorites call it Shinir. All the cities of the plain, and all Gilead, and all Bashan, unto Salcah, and Edrei, cities of the kingdom of Og and Bashan. For only Og, king of Bashan, remained of the remnant of giants. Only Og, king of Bashan, remained of the remnant of giants. So they're really just wiping out giants and pagans and demon worshippers. It is not in Rabath of the children of Ammon. Is it not in Rabath of the children of Ammon? 9 cubits was the length thereof, and 4 cubits the breadth of it, after the cubit of a man. Only king of the man. Is it not in Rabath of the children of Ammon? 9 cubits was the length thereof. 9 feet? Well, nine of these, which is like 12 feet tall. 4 feet wide. Big boys. In this land which we possessed at that time, from Aroer, which is by the river Arnon, and half Mount Gilead, and the cities thereof, gave I unto the Reubenites and to the Gadites, and the rest of Gilead and all Bashan, being the kingdom of Og, gave I unto the half tribe of Manasseh. All the region of Argob with all Bashan, which was called the land of giants. Jair, the son of Manasseh, took all the country of Argob unto the coast of Geshuri and Maacati, and called them after his own name, Bashan Havoth Jair, unto this day. And I gave Gilead unto Machir, And unto the Reubenites and unto the Gadites I gave from Gilead, even unto the river Arnon, half the valley and the border, even unto the river Jabbok, which is the border of the children of Ammon. The plain also, and Jordan, and the coast thereof, from Chinnereth even unto the sea of the plain, even the salt sea, under Ashdoth Pisgah, eastward. And I commanded you at that time, saying, the Lord your God hath given you this land to possess it. Ye shall pass over armed before your brethren, the children of Israel, all that are meant for war, all that are meet for the war. But your wives and your little ones and your cattle, for I know that ye have much cattle, shall abide in your cities which I have given you, until the Lord have given rest unto your brethren, as well as unto you, and until they also possess the land which the Lord your God hath given them, beyond Jordan. And then shall ye return every man unto his possession which I have given you. And I commanded Joshua at that time, saying, thine eyes have seen all that the Lord your God hath done unto these two kings. So shall the Lord do unto all the kingdoms whither thou passest. Ye shall not fear them, for the Lord your God, he shall fight for you. Based. Ain't no reason to fear these dang giants and these Moloch worshippers. And I besought the Lord at that time, saying, O Lord God, thou hast begun to show thy servant thy greatness and thy mighty hand. He's just beginning? What do you mean? You're just now starting to figure this out? For what God is there in heaven or in earth that can do according to thy works and according to thy might? None. I pray thee, let me go over and see for what God, O Lord God. Literal meaning. Never mind, I'm not going to get into that. That'll just make people annoyed if I explain what that means. But I pray thee, let me go over and see the good land that is beyond Jordan, that goodly mountain in Lebanon. But the Lord, the literal translation of that. I pray thee, let me go over and see the good land that is beyond Jordan, that goodly mountain in Lebanon. But the Lord was wroth with me for your sakes. It would not hear me. And the Lord said unto me, let it suffice thee. Speak no more unto me of this matter. Get thee up into the top of the Pisgah, and lift up thine eyes westward, and northward, and southward, and eastward, and behold it with thine eyes. For thou shalt not go over this Jordan. But charge Joshua, and encourage him, and strengthen him. For he shall go over before this people, and he shall cause them to inherit the land which thou shalt see. So we abode in the valley over against Beth Peor. He's telling Moses, go up to the top of the mountain and look in every direction. Because once you cross the Jordan, everything your eye can see is your land.
What about that shadowy spot over there, Dad?
Not that spot, Simba. Simba. Sorry. Lion King reference. So Joshua is stepping up to the plate, and he's going to lead Israel into the land. Not yet. Moses ain't done yet. He's still got to reiterate the entire law. So now we're going to recap Leviticus. But Moses sees the promised land. Let's do... Yeah, we're going to go over the 10 Commandments again. Reiterate Pasha. Yeah, we'll do chapter 4 and chapter 5. Because chapter 6... No, chapter 5 is the 10 Commandments. Yeah. We went through the 10 Commandments already, but this is the shortened version here in Deuteronomy. Okay. in chapter 5. So let's do chapter 4 and chapter 5. One second. Okay, we're not going to get to the tomorrow. We'll redo the 10 Commandments. Yeah, well, it's both these chapters. Okay, that's fine. Chapter 4 through 11 is reiterating the law. So we'll read 4 and 5 so we get a brush up again on the 10 Commandments. Just gotta repetition. Repetition is key. And this goes back to speaking the stories over and over and over again so that they could remember them. But I think they remembered things much easier and much more accurately. You ever seen the Book of Eli? Spoiler alert, he's blind the whole movie. And he's got the Bible memorized, the whole thing. The whole Bible memorized. Shout out Denzel. All right, chapter 4. Now therefore, hearken, O Israel. It is a good movie. I want to watch that movie again. I love that movie. It's not the same, though, if you already know the ending, which I just spoiled for everybody who hasn't seen it yet. Just forget everything I just said. Ignore that. Go watch the Book of Eli. Chapter 4. Now therefore, hearken, O Israel, unto the statutes and unto the judgments which I teach you, for to do them, that ye may live and go in and possess the land which the Lord God of your fathers giveth you. Hearken, O Israel. Is this where we get to the listens? Maybe in this translation it's hearken. I like hearken better than listen, but maybe the listens come up. Start saying listen, 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 listen. Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you. This is also reiterated on the very last page of the Bible in Revelation. Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish aught from it, that ye may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I commanded you. So that's Deuteronomy 4:2. I will read you Revelation. I forget it's the very last page of the Bible. On the very last page of every Bible, Revelation, that highlighted part right there on the last page here, was Revelation 22, 18, and 19. I always bring this up to the Mormons whenever I talk to the missionaries. Revelation 22, 18, and 19. For I testify unto every man that heareth the words of the prophecy of this book. If any man shall add unto these things, God shall add unto him the plagues that are written in this book. And if any man shall take away from the words of the book of this prophecy, God shall take away his part out of the book of life and out of the holy city and from the things which are written in this book. And here we see it in Deuteronomy 4:2. Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish aught from it, that ye may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you. And I think throughout history, a lot of people have done both. And that's the whole transitory idea. The translator is the deceiver. It's a limerick. Transitory. Spelled the same in Latin, spelled the same, looks the same, sounds similar, but it means two different things. Transitory means the translator. Transitory means the lie or the deception. Transitory. The translator is the liar. Verse 3. Your eyes have seen what the Lord did because of Baal Peor. For all the men that follow Baal Peor, the Lord thy God hath destroyed them from among you. But ye that did cleave unto the Lord your God are alive, every one of you this day. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. Like that. Yeah, like that. For what nation is there so great, who hath God so nigh unto them, as the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for? And what nation is there so great that hath statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law which I set before you this day? Only take heed to thyself and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen, and lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life. But teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons, especially the day that thou stoodest before the Lord thy God in Horeb, when the Lord said unto me, gather me the people together, and I will make them hear my words, that they may learn to fear me all the days that they shall live upon the earth, and that they may teach their children. And ye came near and stood under the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire unto the midst of heaven, with darkness, clouds, and thick darkness. And the Lord spake unto you out of the midst of the fire. Ye heard the voice of the words, but saw no similitude. Only ye heard a voice. So they didn't see God. They only heard his voice. And he declared unto you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, even 10 commandments, and he wrote them upon 2 tablets of stone. And the Lord commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and judgment, that ye might do them in the land whither ye go over to possess it. Take ye therefore good heed unto yourselves, for ye saw no manner of similitude on that day that the Lord spake unto you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire, lest ye corrupt yourself and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure. Similitude, I'm guessing, is likeness or a face, maybe. Let me look. A likeness, resemblance, or comparison used to illustrate the spiritual truth or concept, often employed as a literary device to convey deeper meanings through familiar images or analogies. Yeah. So they didn't see the likeness of God. They just heard his voice, and they saw fire and clouds. 2 tablets of stone. And the Lord commanded me at that time to teach you the statutes, lest ye corrupt yourself and make you a graven image of similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female. Lest ye corrupt yourself and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. This is the first commandment: make no engraven images, or put no God before me. But he's going through them. Unless thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the hosts of heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them and serve them, which the Lord thy God hath divided unto all nations under the whole heaven. Oh, look, it says right there in the Bible, you're not supposed to be worshiping the stars and the sun. So when somebody tells you, oh, they plagiarized this from sun worshipers, who did a Samhain, or the Egyptians who worshipped Ra. The Bible just plagiarized that, and they worship the sun. They're worshiping the sun in the Bible. If they're worshiping the sun, S-U-N, in the Bible, then why does the Bible specifically say not to worship the sun? It says it right there. Why would, if this was plagiarized out from a group of people who worship the sun, why would God mention the people who worship the sun and call them evil and say, don't worship the sun like they do? Duh. Unless thou lift up thine eyes into heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the hosts of the heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them and serve them, which the Lord thy God hath divided unto all nations under the whole heaven. Those things are for everybody. That's just those lights in the sky that a certain high level of the hierarchy of angels hang in the balance, that God controls them and they control the planets and the stars. Those aren't for worships for Israelites. The whole world can look up at those. You can use them to travel and stuff, but don't be trying to do magic. Don't be trying to do astrology, figure out the future based off of the stars and stuff. That's evil. It's what the pagans do. It's dumb, and it's dumb. It's dumb and evil. Evil and dumb. You know the only thing worse than evil? Dumb and evil. But the Lord hath taken you and brought you forth out of the iron furnace, even out of Egypt, to be unto him a people of inheritance, as ye are this day. He's saying, in Egypt, they worship the sun and the stars and stuff. And the Canaanites, the Amorites, the giants, they worship these planetary bodies. Don't do that. Furthermore, the Lord was angry with me for your sakes, and swear that I should not go over Jordan, and that I should not go in unto that good land which the Lord thy God hath given thee for an inheritance. But I must die in this land. I must not go over Jordan, but ye shall go over and possess that good land. Do you think, I wonder what people would say, y'all know where I'm going with this. If you know me, you know where I'm going with this. I wonder what people would say to this. Do you think Moses could have chosen not to go up to the top of the mountain where he knew he was going to die? Do you think he could have tried? At least tried? Like, sure, maybe if he tried to walk with the people across the Jordan, if he tried to disobey God, maybe God could have struck him down before he got there, but that's not what God said was going to happen. God said, you're going to go to the top of the mountain and die. He said the same thing to Aaron, and Aaron did it. Now, the answer here would be, well, Moses served God. Moses was a servant of God, so he did what God told him to do. He had no other choice. But could he have chosen? This is a question for a lot of you guys. You know what I'm talking about, Robert. Could Moses have tried to cross the Jordan into the promised land and not gone up to the mountain? Do you think he could have? Let's argue about it. I don't think he could have. I don't think he could. In fact, he says, I must go up there. I must. He doesn't say, well, I really don't feel like it, but I guess I'm gonna I guess I'm gonna choose to. No, he said, I must. But I must die in this land. I must not go over to Jordan, but ye shall go over and possess that land, that good land. Take heed unto yourselves, lest ye forget the covenant of the Lord your God, which he made with you, and make you a graven image, which he made with you, and make you a graven image or the likeness of anything which the Lord thy God hath forbidden thee. Take heed. Take heed means don't do it. He's not saying make one. He's saying take heed not to make one, because the God commanded you not to. For the Lord thy God is a jealous, consuming. The Lord thy God is a consuming fire, even a jealous God. When thou shalt beget children and children's children, and ye shall have remained long in the land, and shall corrupt yourselves, and make a graven image, or the likeness of anything, and shall do evil in the sight of the Lord thy God to provoke him to anger. I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day, that ye shall soon utterly perish from off the land whereunto you go over Jordan to possess it. Ye shall not prolong your days upon it, but shall utterly be destroyed. So Moses tells him, you're inevitably going to make a graven image in a few generations. And you know what's going to happen? It's going to suck. It's going to happen, and it's not going to be good. And I'm just telling you now. And the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Lord shall lead you. You think they could have chosen just not to make a graven image, even though Moses said, in a couple generations, you're going to do this, and God's going to scatter you all over the place to live amongst the heathens. And there ye shall serve gods, lowercase g gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see nor hear nor eat nor smell. But if from thence thou shalt seek the Lord thy God, thou shalt find him. If from thence thou shalt seek the Lord thy God, thou shalt find him. If thou seek him with all thy heart and with all thy soul, when thou art in tribulation and all these things are come upon thee, even in the latter days, if thou turn to the Lord thy God and shalt be obedient unto his voice. And people would say, well, that part seems like they did have a choice, Josh. Oh, you might be right. Maybe. For the Lord thy God is a merciful God. He will not forsake thee, neither destroy thee, nor forget the covenant of thy fathers, which he sware unto them. For ask now of the days that are past, which were before thee, since the day that God created man upon the earth, and ask from the one side of heaven unto the other, whether there hath been any such thing as this great thing is, or hath been heard like it. Did ever people hear the voice of God speaking out of the midst of the fire, as thou hast heard, and live? Or hath God assayed? Hath God assayed? What does assayed mean? Hath God assayed to go and take? I think it just means said. Assayed? Hath God said? Assayed. Past tense, assayed, determine the content or quality of. I essayed a little joke of mine on him. Archaic, attempt. Hath God attempted to go and take a nation from the midst of any other nation by temptations, by signs, and by wonders, and by war, and by mighty hand, and by a stretched out arm, and by great terrors, according to all that the Lord your God did for you in Egypt before your eyes? Unto thee it was showed that thou mightest know that the Lord, he is God. There is none else beside him. Unto thee it was showed that thou mightest know the Lord, he is God. There is none else beside him. Out of heaven he made thee to hear his voice, that he might instruct thee. And upon earth he showed thee his great fire, and thou heardest his words out of the midst of the fire. And because he loved thy fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them, and brought thee out of his sight with his mighty power out of Egypt, to drive out nations from before thee, greater and mightier than thou art, and bring thee in to give thee their land for an inheritance, as it is this day. Know therefore this day, and consider it in thine heart, that the Lord, he is God in heaven above, and upon the earth beneath there is none else. Thou shalt keep therefore his statutes. Hold on 1 second. Thou shalt keep therefore his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee this day, that it may go well with thee and with thy children after thee, and that thou mayest prolong thy days upon the earth, which the Lord thy God hath given thee forever. Then Moses severed 3 cities on this side Jordan toward the sun rising, that the slayer might flee thither, which should kill his neighbor unawares, and hated him not in times past, and that fleeing into one of these cities he might live. So now they're touching a little bit on some of the stuff from Leviticus, the manslayer, the city of refuge concepts, namely Bezer in the wilderness, in the plains country of the Reubenites, and Ramoth and Gilead of the Gadites, and Golan and Bashan of the Manassites. And this is the law which Moses set before the children of Israel. These are the testimonies and the statutes and the judgments which Moses spake unto the children of Israel after they came forth out of Egypt. On this side Jordan, in the valley over against Beth Peor, in the land of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who dwelt at Heshbon, whom Moses and the children of Israel smote after they were come forth out of Egypt. And they possessed his land in the land of Og, king of Bashan, 2 kings of the Amorites, which were on this side Jordan toward the sun rising. From Aroer, which is by the bank of the river Arnon, even unto Mount Sion, which is Hermon, and all the plain on this side Jordan eastward, even unto the sea of the plain under the springs of Pisgah. And Moses, and that's chapter 4. Chapter 5 is short. We're going to wrap up with chapter 5. Chapter 5 and chapter 6 both go over the 10 Commandments again. And then chapter 7 and some of chapter 6, we get warnings against disobedience and blessings of obedience. So we'll be doing that tomorrow. And Israel's going to rebel, of course. Does Moses die at the end of Deuteronomy? Second covenant table, serve the Lord thy God, one place of worship, a blessing and a curse. Yeah, we're going to be rehashing a lot of Leviticus over the next few chapters. But it's quicker, it's more concise. Clean and unclean meats, warning against idolatry, laws of the tithe, lending to the poor, no usury, punishments for idolatry, the great feasts. Basically, Deuteronomy is just a recap of everything. So we're recapping right now. We're recapping Exodus and a little bit of Leviticus. The next 5 chapters, we're going to recap Leviticus. And then we're going to recap more of Leviticus. Yeah, a lot of this is recapping Leviticus. They really want to pound those laws home. They really want to make sure Moses is like, all right, I'm about to die, guys. I really want to make sure you understood those laws. So let's go over those one more time. This is Deuteronomy. It is the second law. So a lot of this is just rehashing Leviticus. But that beginning, we went through Exodus again. Yeah. Until we get, once we go over the 10 Commandments here, chapters 6 through 30 is basically, we're just doing Leviticus again, except slightly said in different ways. Maybe a little more clear, maybe a little more concise, maybe not. But we got about 20 chapters of second law of going through Leviticus. But then we get into Joshua. We get into the walls of Jericho coming down, baby. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. Let me do chapter 5, and then we'll wrap up. And Moses called all Israel and said unto them, Hear, O Israel, the statutes and judgments which I speak in your ears this day, that ye may learn them and keep and do them. The Lord our God made a covenant with us in Horeb. The Lord made not this covenant with our fathers, but with us, even us, who are all of us here alive this day. The Lord talked with you face to face in the mount out of the midst of the fire. I stood between the Lord and you at that time to show you the word of the Lord, for ye were afraid by reasons of the fire, and went not up into the mount, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. Thou shalt have none other gods before me. That's the first commandment. Thou shalt not make thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters beneath the earth. Thou shalt not bow down or serve them, bow down thyself unto them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless and taketh his name in vain. 1 second. I want to mark these because this is a second retelling of the 10 Commandments. 1, 2, 3. No gods before me, no engraven images. Don't take the Lord's name in vain. 4, keep the Sabbath day to sanctify it, as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee. 6 days thou shalt labor and do all thy work. 6 days, not none of this 5 days and 2 days off commie gobbledygook. We're not commies in America. 4-day work weeks, 5-day work weeks. We work 6 days, men. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant. So Goyim doesn't make any sense for the Jays out there. I think I'm doing Bible study. I can say the Jews, the Israelite people, the Hebrews. Goyim doesn't make sense. That's not a loophole. Your servants aren't even allowed to work on the Sabbath. Any stranger or sojourner within your household is not allowed to work on the Sabbath. You're not allowed to have somebody do work for you on the Sabbath day. There's no loophole. There's no Goyim loophole. Okay? That is within thy gates, and thy manservant and thy maidservant may rest as well as thou. So see, even the slaves get a day off on the Sabbath. And remember that thou wast a servant in the land of Egypt, and that the Lord thy God brought thee out thence through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore the Lord thy God commanded thee to keep the Sabbath day. Honor thy father and thy mother, as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee, that thy days may be prolonged, and that it may go well with thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. That's the key to long life. That's the golden rule. Some people say the golden rule is do unto others as you'd have done to you. I always heard the golden rule was honor your father and your mother. Because if you want long life, the golden age that the ancient civilizations wrote about when people lived, I know there's other like colloquial terms for golden age, but when I talk about the golden age, I'm referencing ancient times when people lived to be 900 years old. That's what I mean by the golden time, the golden era. Trump said this is the new golden era of America. The golden age was when people lived to be 900 years old. So the golden rule, in my mind, is honor thy father and thy mother. The way you honor your father and your mother is by having no resentment for them. Go and forgive. Go and forgive. Have no resentment. That's how you honor your father and your mother. And that's how you have a long lifespan. That's the 5th commandment. The 6th commandment, thou shalt not kill. Neither shalt thou commit. So is this a different order? Because isn't the first commandment, what's the order of this? No, the first commandment is no other God before me. 6 7, neither shalt thou commit adultery, neither shalt thou steal, neither shalt thou bear false witness against thy neighbor. 6. See, I think there's more than 10 in this chapter. 7, 8, 9. Oh, no, there's 10. Neither shalt thou desire thy neighbor's wife. So don't covet your neighbor's wife or your house. Don't covet. Neither shalt thou desire thy neighbor's wife, neither shalt thou covet thy neighbor's house, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, or his ass, or anything that is thy neighbor's, or his Corvette, or his mansion, or his Bitcoin. None of it. Don't covet. And that's 10. So, no other gods before me, no graven images. Don't take the Lord's name in vain. Keep the Sabbath day. Honor thy father and thy mother. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, which essentially means don't lie. But I've wondered about that before. Like, bearing false witness against your neighbor. Let me look into this real quick. I think I've looked into this before. And then don't covet. But does bearing false witness against thy neighbor necessarily mean don't lie? Or is it like specifically lying to do harm to somebody else? Because like there could be an example of a lie that is not bearing false witness against my neighbor. Couldn't there? Or am I wrong about this? Let's look into it. Does bearing false witness, because Abraham lies in Joshua, I think it's in Joshua, maybe it's in Judges. Hold on, I actually have an article on this. Does bearing false witness mean lying? Yes, bearing false witness is a form of lying, specifically lying under oath or giving false testimony. Perjury, bearing false witness, giving false testimony under oath. Examples of bearing false witness. Rumors and gossip would be false witness. Twisting the truth to make someone look bad. Cheating or plagiarism. Lying under oath in court. See, so this is not all types of lies. Now, I'm not justifying lying, by the way. I'm just saying this commandment, you know, if your wife says, "How's dinner, sweetie?" and you know she put way too much, she don't got enough salt on it, and she burnt it, and you say, "It's delicious, honey," you lied. But I don't think that's the same as bearing false witness. You still shouldn't lie to your wife, but, you know, is a white lie like that? Or, dude, does this dress make me look fat? She looked like a heifer. But you say, "You look beautiful, honey." You know, I don't think that's the same as bearing false witness. It's still lying. It's still probably not the right thing to do, but maybe it is. I don't know. But I do know there's a specific time. It's either Joshua. I think it's Joshua, but it might not be in the book of Joshua. Oh, it's Samuel. Samuel. So in Samuel 16:1 through 6, God tells Samuel, what does he tell him? Okay, God tells Samuel to do two things: sacrifice to the Lord and anoint David. And if he gets questioned by Saul, only tell him, Samuel is only supposed to tell Saul about the first of the two things. So Samuel's supposed to sacrifice to God and anoint David. And if Saul questions him, hey, what are you doing, Samuel? God tells Samuel to just tell Saul that you're making a sacrifice. Don't tell Saul that you're anointing to David. Does this mean that God told Samuel to lie to Saul? The argument that I read here and the argument that I came up with in my own head on my own just by thinking about it would be no. Well, it depends on if you believe in lies by omission, because he doesn't lie. So God tells him, do these two things. If Saul asks you about it, only tell him about the one. So so what he does is what we would call a lie by omission. He tells them the one thing, but he leaves out the other part, the other half. And God told him to do that. So technically, God's telling him, omit half of the story, leave out half of the story. Don't tell him the whole story. And so the question is, did God tell Samuel to lie? And I think the answer is no, because Samuel didn't actually lie to Saul. He just leaves out half of the story. But some people would say that that is a lie by omission, particularly women. Women like to say this. They say, well, that's a lie by omission. Like if we've had this question on VK before, is there ever a time to keep a secret from your spouse? And like an example would be like, you know, I don't want to put my stresses as a man onto my wife. It's my job to carry certain responsibilities. Women are more emotional, and there's no reason to tell them some things. You can just omit it. Just omit it. Just don't tell them. It's not lying. You're just not telling them. So like, let's say, I don't know, we're a little bit, an example I thought of was like, we're behind on the bills. It's getting tough. Money's tight. We're struggling a little bit. And I get a letter in the mail that says the house is getting foreclosed on in 3 months if we don't catch up on the bills. Now I know, I look at it, I do the math in my head, and I think, okay, I can pick up a second shift and I can get this paid, right? It's going to be okay. I'm a man. I don't freak out. I say, times are tough right now, but I have faith in God and I have faith in my abilities. I just got to grind harder and it'll be taken care of. Why do I need to put that stress onto my wife? Why do I need to take that to her and say, look at what came in the mail, honey, and freak her out? Now I got to deal with a freaking angry, freaked out, scared, sad woman on top of the stress that we already got. No, I'm going to keep that a secret and I'm going to handle it like a man. That, I don't think that's a lie. You're omitting something, but in like the feminist world and the woman's mind, that's called a lie by omission. So if you think omitting half of the story is a lie, then you would have to conclude that God told Samuel to lie in 1 Samuel 16. I am not of that mind. I don't think I'm leaving out half of the story is lying. So I don't think God told Samuel to lie. But anyway, I take it as don't lie on your neighbor for your own benefit. Yeah, bearing false witness. Here, go in timeout, Freddie. You get 10 minutes timeout until the show's over. Because you don't know what you're talking about. We already addressed this. We already addressed just a little while ago. And I was specifically talking to you, Freddie. Dumb people say that we plagiarized from the Egyptians and that son, S-O-N, is actually sun, S-U-N. if we plagiarize from the Egyptians, then why does God say the Egyptians worship the sun? Don't worship the sun like the Egyptians do. It just said that. Like, so if we plagiarized from the Egyptians who were worshiping the sun, why would God say, don't worship the sun like the Egyptians do? Just a little while ago, just a couple verses ago. I didn't highlight it, but anyway, we just went over this. Yeah. Plus, you owe King Blackout $100. According to the example I just read on lie by omission, leaving out information at the request of someone is not a lie by omission. Yeah. Well, I don't even think lie by omission is even a thing. I think that's like a woman prattle thing. Oh, you didn't tell me about this. I asked you and you didn't tell me about this. Like, if I stop by and have a couple drinks after work or something, and then I come home and the wife is like, "What'd you do today? How was work?" And I say, "Oh, it was all right. I worked and I just took my time coming home, went for a drive, got home. Let's go to bed." And then the next day she finds a receipt from the bar in my pocket. She says, "You didn't tell me you went to the bar last night. You said you just went for a drive." Well, I did go for a drive. I also stopped at the bar and had a couple drinks. You told me I'm not allowed to spend money, but I felt like spending money. And I stopped and I did go for a drive, after work. But I also did stop at the bar. Well, then you lied to me. You lied. Well, no, I didn't lie to you. I just didn't tell you that part. Well, that's a lie by omission. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's just, I didn't feel like telling you. Because you don't decide what I do, woman. All right, let's finish up this chapter. These words the Lord spake unto all your, so we just went through the 10 commandments again. These words the Lord spake unto all your assembly in the mount out of the midst of the fire of the cloud and of the thick darkness with a great voice. And he added no more, and he wrote them in 2 tables of stone, and delivered them unto me. And it came to pass, when ye heard the voice out of the midst of the darkness, for the mountain did burn with fire, that ye came near unto me, even all the heads of your tribes and your elders. And ye said, Behold, the Lord our God hath showed us his glory and his greatness, and we have heard his voice out of the midst of the fire. We have seen this day that God doth talk with man, and he liveth. We have seen this day that God doth talk with man, and he liveth. Now therefore, why should we die? For this great fire will consume us. If we hear the voice of the Lord our God any more, then we shall die. For who is there of all flesh that hath heard the voice of the living God speaketh out of the midst of the fire, as we have, and lived? Go thou near, and hear all that the Lord our God shall say, and speak thou unto us all that the Lord our God shall speak unto thee, and we will hear it and do it. And the Lord heard the voice of your words when ye spake unto me. And the Lord said unto me, I have heard the voice of the words of this people, which they have spoken unto thee. They have well said all that they have spoken. Oh, that there were such a heart of them, that they would fear me and keep all my commandments always, that it might be well with them and with their children forever. Oh, that there were such a heart in them, that they would fear me and keep all my commandments always, that it might be well with them and with their children forever. Go say to them, Get you into your tents again. But as for thee, stand thou here by me, and I will speak unto thee all the commandments and all the statutes and the judgments which thou shalt teach them, that they may do them in the land which I give them to possess it. Ye shall observe to do therefore as the Lord your God hath commanded you. Ye shall not turn aside to the right hand or to the left. Ye shall walk in all the ways which the Lord your God hath commanded you, that ye may live, and that it may be well with you, and that ye may prolong your days in the land which ye shall possess. And that's chapter 5. The next 25 chapters are pretty much Deuteronomy, Deuteronomia in Greek, the second law. The next 25 chapters is just Leviticus again. Feasts, punishments, idolatry, keeping the Sabbath holy, all that stuff. We're going through it again. Worded slightly different this time. Maybe a little easier to understand, maybe a little less easier to understand. Maybe easier to understand just because we just went through it in Leviticus. Maybe now the second time it'll be a little easier to understand. But that's what we got coming up for the next 2 weeks is basically we're going through all of Leviticus again. The last 2 chapters of Deuteronomy, we see Moses die and we see Joshua step up. I think Moses dies at the end of Deuteronomy. Maybe he dies at the beginning of Joshua. But the next book, we have the walls of Jericho tumbling down. We have Joshua taking over with force. With force. Seesaw fell asleep again. She fell asleep earlier, and she probably is back asleep. She's out here. She's trying to listen. She's trying to listen. But I have a soothing voice. I have a soothing voice. You know, I understand. All right, guys. It's 12:10. Let me see if there's anybody to raid. Let's see. Breakfast tacos. Are they all atheists over there? I thought breakfast tacos was the politics Discord. But I don't think it is because, or maybe he just hosts panels on the politics Discord. Because I subscribed to his channel because I saw a couple debates hosted by that channel. But now, every time it's on my feed, it's like atheist destroys Christian on his own panel. Atheist bodied Christians, and it's all your God is impossible. Atheist bodies Christians. I don't know. And the few that I've listened to, they're all kind of dumb. All the atheists that are on there. So I don't know. I subscribed to this channel. I thought it was a politics debate channel. I didn't know it was a atheist degen club. But Joel Friday. Geekdom 101 is live. OTW. I saw Grid 1 was on this OTW channel the other day. It's a debate channel, and I subscribed to it, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to send you there. I don't know what they're all about yet. I haven't watched enough of it. We'll send you over to Joel Friday. Say what up to Joel. Ghetto Bible True Crime Story Time. Ghetto Bible True Crime Story Time. I don't know what he's talking about on Joel Friday TV, but he I don't know. I don't know what kind of mess is going on over there, but I'll send you over to Joel. Say what up to Joel for me. Oh, suspected spam. Spam is calling? Hawaiian spam? I like spam. You know what's good on pizza? Spam and pineapple. That's a Hawaiian pizza. That's a real Hawaiian pizza. No, who needs ham and bacon? Spam and pineapple on pizza. That's a Hawaiian pizza. OTW is pretty decent. He's a regular in Easy's chat. Okay, well, I'll check him out a couple more times before I start sending people over there. And then, because he's often live at this time when my show ends. So maybe I'll start sending people over there. But for today, you guys can go say what up to Joel, the Prince of Prance, Joel. Have a good one, guys. God bless. I will see you tomorrow with more Deuteronomy. Thank you for watching. Later, guys.